Hello. Hey, everybody. I'll be back in 30 seconds. Okay. How's everyone doing?
Good.
Everyone good? Okay. Any thoughts on the meeting earlier today with Georgia Legacy? No?
I couldn't hear. I didn't take part because I was in Ignite 10 to 12.
Oh, right. All right.
I listened to it. I was driving, so.
Gotcha. Everyone staying healthy and safe? Anyone need anything?
No, thank you.
Okay. I want to walk you through some buyer ideas real fast. The way that I think it's best to work on the buyer presentation right now is obviously everything has got to be checked a little bit because of coronavirus. But the biggest takeaway is you've got to understand their motivations. Their motivations are going to dictate everything. It's going to dictate how many questions you have to ask them. It's going to dictate the pace at which you push things. It's going to dictate what topics you bring the conversation back to, if necessary. When there's no deadlines, when there's no pressure, when there's no kind of anxiety around the transaction and around a particular part of the transaction that's being sorted out, that's when you're really going to get to the heart of why they're choosing to move. Okay, so I'm going to share my screen quite a bit today, and I'm going to walk you through a bunch of things that I want to show you. So remember that in the in the PC file, we have the entire Ignite curriculum. Lucy sent out some video or a big link through KW Connect about a little less than a week ago. I think it was the end of last week. That was all of the videos on all the different parts of the new Ignite program. So if you are not, if you have not downloaded the scripts and the tools, it's usually about 15 to 20 page curriculum for each of the sparks and each of the elements, I'm going to ask that you do that. They're nice and simply done for you with the exception of the videos in the just PC file on Google Drive. So I just pulled up the buyer consultation, and I'll kind of walk you through the beginning of that. It's called Ignite Elementals 5, Buyer Appointment. Okay. But I really want you to be able. Sorry? What? What was that? Say that one more time, Anu.
The document you're asking us to find, is that under the Ignite 2.0?
Yeah, and I pulled it up here. So if you can see my screen, we're going to look at it together. Okay.
Okay.
And if you go back to what we were doing yesterday, you can go to the buyer intake sheet, because the buyer intake sheet is going to show you, hang on just 2 seconds for me. Let me make sure I was able to get somebody into the, okay. Buyer intake sheet is going to be all of the questions that help you understand kind of what the motivations are. Okay, and that's basically everything that's a prelude to the appointment. Okay, so what are the objectives of the buyer appointment? Let's just talk about it from the 30,000-foot view. Who thinks they know what an objective of the buyer appointment is?
You're wanting to find out what they're looking for,
Yep,
and you're wanting to start building a relationship with them where they can trust you.
exactly. Exactly. Anything else?
Yeah, the needs analysis, and also you're trying to convey to them what you can do for them.
Very good. You guys are saying everything until the very last thing. So we're going to do a needs analysis with the buyer, right? We're checking their motivation. We're figuring out what they want, why they want it. We're delivering as much value as we can, and we'll examine each of those here in just a second. But of course, the primary reason to get in front of them is to get a signature, right?
Right.
We want to move the process along. So once we prove that we know how to ask the right questions, and we do a lot of listening, and then we strengthen and deepen our relationship with the prospect, and we show them all the value that our organization offers, in addition to Keller Williams and the Market Center and all the technology and all that, then we have to ask for the business, right? We want to get the opportunity to represent them in this process. Okay. Remember that roughly 2/3, a little over 2/3 of buyers will only interview one agent. Okay. And what I always used to say at the very beginning was, so I want to just help you understand a couple of really important things here. Number one is the best part of working with a buyer's agent is that you get professional representation without having to pay for it. So ultimately, the seller is going to be the one that compensates me to represent you. Okay, so there's no cost to working with me. That's statement number one. The second statement is, and I also want to let you know that anything that you find, any property that you find on any website, any app, anything, right, that is a home that I can help you pursue, regardless of who the listing agent is, regardless of who the listing brokerage is. If you want some information about a property, whether it's new construction, relocation, foreclosure, short sale, regular resale, whatever, no matter which website you found it on, it's a home I can help you pursue. So if you have a question about it, I want you to come to me first, and I'll explain how we can get inside and get you all the information you desire. Cool? But at the heart of it all, we want to do everything we can do so that at the end, when we ask for the opportunity to do business together, it's a done deal. It would be, like we said earlier, it would be ridiculous for them not to want to work with us after we've shown them all that we've shown them, and we've created rapport, and we've strengthened the relationship, and we've shown all the value that we can deliver. Make sense? All right, stop me if you have any questions. I'm going to go right through this presentation here, okay? Now, in a perfect world, we get an opportunity for, hang on. In a perfect world, we get an opportunity to sit down now, possibly virtually. And remember, I would recommend that you go ahead and get a Zoom account. For free, you can host meetings of up to 40 minutes. If you want to go beyond 40 minutes, you have to pay, it's like $150 a year for it. So that's what I've paid for. Or if you get cut off, you can just hop right back in. But maybe that'll teach you to keep your appointments, 40 minutes or less. Okay. So ideally, we get a chance to do a buyer consultation prior to them looking at property. Oftentimes it was possible. Oftentimes it was actually fairly difficult. And what I wanted to try to avoid was trying to explain the process and really, do a needs analysis and really help them understand how I operated and how that was to their benefit when they're up and downstairs trying to, figure out where the bedrooms and bathrooms are and, trying to talk to each other about whether they like the home and all that stuff. So ideally, you get a chance to create a professional environment and to present to them like you are a professional, right? So Stephanie, I'll give you an idea. I'll give you an example, or I'll ask you a question just to make sure I'm thinking about this properly. When you were presenting to someone or getting into a relationship with somebody to be their trainer, were you making your sales pitch when they were lifting weights, or did you bring them into the little side room and sit them down like a professional? Can't hear you.
Okay, can you hear me now?
Yep.
So I do it a little different than most people. Most people sit them at the desk and meet with them. I put them on the treadmill and have them just walk at a comfortable pace, and I stand next to them. And usually by the end they've walked 2 miles when you're finished. So I just would rather them be moving. So I don't meet with a lot of new people though. I pretty much get referrals, and I don't do a lot of sit down meetings.
All right, that's sidebar then. You didn't.
Okay, sorry.
You didn't play along with me.
I know. I'm sorry.
That's
I
okay.
sit at a desk with them in a side room.
Good. That's what we want to try to do. Okay. So I'm just going to read this really fast to you. Okay. Your needs drive how and when we find your next home. From this day forward, everything I do will be motivated by your goals and how you imagine your life taking place in your new home. Once I get an understanding of where you see yourself, finding your dream home will move quickly and with minimal interruption to your daily life. That little paragraph is jam-packed with psychological stuff. Okay. There's only one mention of I. Okay. It's all about them. They're future pacing. Does anyone know what future pacing is? Future pacing is when you basically have your prospect, or the person you're courting, thinking about what it's like to be where they want to be, right? Everything, we're going to have you imagine how your life is going to take place in your new home, right? We're going to find your dream home. We're going to move quickly. We're going to have minimal interruption. Your needs are going to drive the process of finding this new home. Does that make sense? Okay. So that's a script, right? That's something that you can read over and over and over again and internalize, right? So this is kind of a great opener to your presentation, right? There'll be plenty of time later to brag about yourself. This is about them, okay? People like to talk about themselves, and the way that you control the conversation is by asking questions. So visualize your dream scenario for buying a home. Okay, so what's the one thing that has to happen to make that dream scenario a reality? That's what you're asking them, right? And they'll tell you, I really want to go out just one time, find the home, and be done with it. Okay, well, in that scenario, you don't want to drag them to a bunch of homes that don't meet their criteria. So you might want to preview some properties, right? Everything that they're saying, you're writing down because it's going to help you serve them better. Because if you go through the trouble of asking them these questions and then you don't actually do anything unique, you don't service them in a unique way based on what they desire, you're probably not going to work with them because they're going to be like, why is this dude wasting my time? Right? How can I make that happen for you? Why is that important to you? If we could just add one more thing to make this process even better, what would it be? And why is that important to you? Okay? Because you're basically asking them to create the perfect scenario on how they want to be serviced, and then you're going to turn around and service them in that way. How many real estate agents that are courting them to be a prospective buyer's agent are asking these questions? None. None. Okay? You want to make it about them. You may even say, like, look, you've already said, what is this? I want this to be about you. You're the driver here. So you want to find a home in a day? I'll help you find a home in a day. You want to help find a home in the year? We're going to work at a different pace. But either way, it's about you. Got it? You can customize all of these pages. They have in designs, they have a couple different listing presentation things, templates and buyer presentation templates. So I would encourage you to go into Command and into Designs and play around with that a bit. These are just the basics on how you're going to set up the structure of the meeting. Okay, so let's say you're sitting in front of a couple. We're going to talk about the best way to get in touch. I want to make sure I know exactly what your preferences are for this transaction. So husband and wife, or husband and husband, or wife and wife, whatever it is. Who is going to be the main contact, right? It's not always the woman. It's not always the man, right? But if, let's say, the man really wants to be the contact, but the woman was the first one to inquire, and so you've kind of like just defaulted to speaking with the woman, that's not going to work. You need to ask them, who should be my main contact here? What is the timeline you want to strive for, right? Are we trying to buy a home in a weekend? Are we trying to buy a home in 3 months? Help me understand. Have you started to look into getting pre-approved for a home loan? You could also ask the question, will you be buying this home with cash, or will you be obtaining a loan? They're like, we need a loan. But it's also a compliment. Make sense? Ooh, I look like the type of person that could buy a home for cash. Cool, I like this dude already. Right? Have you thought about the price range that you'll be comfortable with? Right? So it's not just, by the way, about going to a lender and saying, how much can I borrow? Let's say, for example, the lender says, you, based on your income and your credit score and your down payments and all that kind of thing, you can afford to borrow $275,000, and you're going to have a $15,000 down payment, so you can afford a home of $290,000. Cool? Well, here's the thing. That's only half of the discussion, because what we really need to focus on is, are you cool with that, with what results from that? So I would always ask the buyer or the buyer's lender, or both, to say, when you get a pre-approval letter, go ahead and get something called a loan worksheet at the same time. So a loan worksheet is a document that basically shows them how all the money works. What are all the costs involved in obtaining that loan, right? And based on the type of loan that they want, and based on, like, if they're a veteran, or if they can only do an FHA loan or something, and what their down payment is, it's going to show them what the monthly cost will be. So let's say, for example, I go into the lender, and the lender tells me I can borrow $275,000 and tells me that I should get a conventional loan with 5% down. And then on the loan worksheet, it shows me that that's going to cost me, with typical taxes and insurance and all that, it's going to cost me $1,800. And I say, whoa, 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 whoa. I know you'll let me borrow this based on what my debts are and what my income is and all that, but I'm a little bit more conservative, and I want to spend no more than $1,600 a month. So showing your client a $280,000 or $290,000 house in that scenario isn't going to be smart, right? Because guess what? They're going to like it, okay? If they can only afford, or if they only feel comfortable borrowing the amount of money that, let's say, that they could get a $260,000 house for, if you show them a $290,000 house, 10 times out of 10, they're probably going to like a $290,000 house more than a $260,000 house. Does anyone want to disagree with me on that? I know there's like some exceptions, but you don't want to show buyers homes they can't afford. It's not smart for anybody. It's a big waste of time. Okay. So you want to then go back to the lender and say, so buyer only wants to go to $1,600. Can you back that out and show me how much money he should borrow then? And say, oh yeah, okay, that's $260,000. So then we add back your down payment. Now we're looking at this. Okay, does everyone agree? Because if you borrow this amount of money, it's going to cost you this amount of money. So are you comfortable with this? Yes or no? And if the lender gives them an initial number and the buyer's like, okay, cool, I'm good with that, then we're good. We just keep moving along. Okay. Meanwhile, everything that you're doing, it's bringing you back into the validating all of the people that are involved in the process, right? So lender goes and does his or her work, brings back the data, and then you potentially explain it to them. You say, okay, based on this, it's going to have this monthly payment. Are you comfortable with that? Yes, great, let's move forward. Okay, if I found a home today that checked all your boxes, could you see yourself making a move sooner rather than later? Well, yeah, right? Or they say, well, no, no matter what I see, I'm not going to go I'm not going to put any offers out until September. Well, there's not a whole lot of purpose in going in and out of homes right now, because most likely you're going to find them what they want because you're a good agent, and they're not going to be able to do anything about it, or they're not going to be willing to do anything about it, right? So there's not a whole lot of use in that. So you might say, well, here's the thing. I'm going to show you exactly what you want to see, and we have a pretty fast moving market, so you're going to identify a particular home that you want to pursue, and you're not going to be able to get it because you're not willing to take any action on it. So probably the best thing to do until you're ready, until you get to that point mentally, is just to look at some properties online and drive by them, and go check out the communities. Like if somebody's new to the area and they don't know the difference, let's say between Smyrna and Tucker and Loganville and Woodstock, or you name it, right? Then it's going to be hard for them to get serious about a purchase. So if somebody is relatively new to the market, then I would suggest, again, it's a little challenging at this moment, but this hopefully will pass. Hey, if you want to see what it's like to live in Woodstock, right, and you want to know who lives in Woodstock, go to some grocery stores there, go to some coffee shops there, right? Go to a park, right? Drive around. You want to see who lives in in the neighborhood you're considering? I don't know the breakdown of, young and old and white and black and orange and blah, blah, blah. If you want to know, you got to do some old school reconnaissance. Sit yourself at the front of the neighborhood and see who comes and goes. And if you're happy, you're happy. And if you're not, you're not. Right? Right? So what we want to do is make sure that we're having all these conversations with our buyers, and because the more we talk and the more we communicate how simple it's going to be and how logical it's going to be when we're sitting in front of our prospect, the easier it's going to be for them to commit to working with us. Right? So let's talk about the best way to get in touch, because sometimes there's going to be some urgent matters, right? So would you prefer me email, call, text, right? Is there a particular time of day that works best for you to be communicated with, right? Like, let's say you're in surgeries all day from until 12 o'clock. Well, I ain't gonna be able to get you. So would you like me to call your husband, or would you like me to call your wife? Or how would I get in touch with you if I need to get in touch with you at a variety of times, right? As updates arrive, how would you prefer to be notified, right? ASAP, like that day? Are we more casual about it? Tell me a little bit about how I can best serve you. Make sense?
Hey, Bill, I had a question regarding the BBA.
Yeah.
How long, in general, how many months or how many days would you put on that period?
So it's going to depend on what their time frame is, but I would put it at least a month or two beyond what they say their time frame is. Generally speaking, I'd say you're probably good around 120 days or so.
Okay.
Okay. Now, let's say you have a 120-day agreement and you go under contract with them on day 115, you don't need to get it renewed.
Uh-huh.
The contract extends it. Okay.
Okay.
Makes sense? Okay, so now we want to talk a little bit about, and at this point, most likely you have not brought up the BBA, right? Because you're asking the questions and you're trying to figure out, and quite frankly, you're trying to figure out if you want to work with these people.
Mm-hmm.
Right? You may choose not to, right? They might not have told you that they're not going to listen to anything you recommend yet, or they may not have, let it come out that they don't want to live near white people or black people or orange people, right? Or that they don't want to, it could be just about anything. And you're like, whoa, we ain't doing that. You're going to need a different realtor if you got that attitude. Sorry. All the best to you. Right. So we're going to talk now about your wish list for your home. Tell me a little bit about your family, right? Adults, children, pets, who's going to be living there? Are there any non-negotiables for your home? Right? If you had to name your top 5 non-negotiables, what would they be? And they say, well, the house has to have a fence. Okay, so let me ask you a question. If the yard is great, but it doesn't happen to have a fence up right now, is that something you could do later? No. I have to have a fence. I don't want to put up a fence. Don't talk to me about a fence. It's either got one or I'm not buying it. Great. That's one scenario. The other scenario would be, yeah, I would consider putting up a fence if everything else worked okay. Right. So if that's the case, we don't want to put fence as a requirement. Right. But we may want to take an extra couple minutes to look in the pictures to see if the backyard seems to meet their criteria. Right. Beyond your top 5 needs, what's something you really want? Well, I really want a home that has a 2-story family room. Okay, so what I hear you saying is you really want a home that has a 2-story family room. If everything else was perfect, would you buy a home with a 1-story family room? No. Okay, so you actually need a home with a 2-story family room. Is that correct? Yes. Okay. So you're getting clarity on what do they have to have and what do they want to have. What you're really doing is asking very pointed questions and then echoing back to letting them talk and then echoing back what you think you've heard. And anything that's slightly vague, push them. I want a big backyard. A big backyard means a lot of different things to a lot of different people. I'm curious, what does a big backyard mean to you? Right? Well, I want a big closet. A big closet means a lot of different things to a lot of different people. And I'm curious, what does a big closet mean to you? Were you guys on the phone the other day when I was talking about the 2 showings I had on the same day? Long time ago? Right. First woman I brought into a $750. First woman I brought into a rental that was on the market for $750. And she walked in the door and she started crying. And I said, "Are you okay?" And she's like, "Yeah." And ultimately she told me that she was crying because she never thought that she could own or in this scenario live in, let's say, a home that was that nice. Right. So we say, oh, $750, come on, that's small, that area, whatever. This woman was crying because she had never had that type of opportunity before. Right. It's about a 750 square foot 1 bed, 1 bath condo. Okay. Later that day, I showed a woman pretty nice house, pretty large home, and I walked and by the way, I lived at that time in a 1 bed, 1 bath condo, and I was stealing internet while sitting on the toilet. Right. So like that's where I was in my mind, and I happened to stumble across this woman who was willing to meet with me to go look at a really fancy home, which she ended up not buying with me, but that's neither here nor there. And I walked her into a closet that was like literally the size of my place. And I'm like, wow, look how large this closet is. And she looked at me, she's like, this closet's tiny. Right. So that everyone thinks about things differently. Okay. So you got to ask those questions. I'm just curious, what does big mean to you? I'm just curious, what does small mean to you? I'm just curious, you said you want an open floor plan. What does an open floor plan mean to you? Right? Does that mean the family room is open to the kitchen? Or does that mean the dining room is open to the family room? Or does that mean that does that mean something different? What does that mean to you? Do you want a home that's in move-in ready condition, or are you willing to do some work? Well, I'm willing to do some paint and carpet, but nothing beyond that. Okay, great. So do you have a budget in mind for that type of work? Yeah, I've got $5,000 in mind. Okay, great. So if you take me to a home that needs more than $5,000 worth of work, it's probably not going to be a match. Yeah, am I hearing that correctly? You're hearing that correctly, right? Do you have a preference on when the home was built? Yeah, I love new homes. Great. Well, I don't want anything new. They don't build homes like they used to. I want an old home. Just curious, what does an old home mean to you? Make sense? See the theme here? We're asking a lot of questions. We're echoing back. Okay, when people visit your home, what do you want it to say about you? Does that sound like a question you would ask if somebody really cared? Make sense? Pam, we're going to get to the BBA here in just a second. Do you have any special needs? Right? Will you require any accessibility options? Do we need no stairs, or do we need an elevator, or do we have to have a bedroom on the main level, something like that? Right? Are there any specific features that would make your next home feel instantly like home? I love that question. Yeah, if I have a, let's see, if I walk in the door and there's like a little sitting room off of the kitchen. My grandmother used to have one of those, and that would make me feel just amazing. You find that home that's within their price range and the area they want to be in with that sitting room, and you just better bring your contract, baby, because they don't buy it. Right? So you're trying to figure out what it is these people are going to want and why. Why is even more important. Okay. Here's a little information on neighborhoods. Remember, this is if they're using the app. So I'd show them the app, make sure they're in the app. We'll skip a little bit of that though. So here's how the home buying process works. In other words, listen up. I'm going to show you what to expect. Remember, we talked about the importance of helping guide them through the process. Here's what's going to happen next. You never, like, it sounds a little obsessive, but you want to make sure that, like, we had a couple of agents that would have a little sticker on their computer screen. So they were staring at their computer every time they were on the telephone. And they had a little sticker that said, here's what happens next. So that was there to remind them, don't ever get off the telephone with somebody without telling them what's happening next. All right, here's what happens next, Anu. We're gonna have a home inspection. And then here's what happens next, right? So we're gonna partner with an agent, right? We're gonna get to know the inventory levels. We're gonna know, see what happens, what hits the market. I oftentimes have access to off-market properties. Those are the coming soons, or what you might hear about in the office or something like that, right? We're going to complete a needs assessment. Many of those questions are on the buyer intake sheet, okay? We're going to make sure we're pre-approved for a loan. We're going to know how much money you can afford, what type of loan you're going to have. Oh, by the way, when you know how much the monthly fee is and you know how much the closing costs are going to be, then you can go back and let's say you go out and look at a home on a Saturday or a Sunday and you can't reach the lender. Well, you already know a rough number of what the closing costs are going to be. So you don't have to not ask for any, or not ask for the right amount, or not ask for enough, or not ask for too much, right? So you're going to get a pre-approval letter. You're going to make sure that you know if there's anything funky going on. Is this guy on like an employment contract, or has he filled in his tax return? Has he done his tax returns? Does he have anything, unique or strange going on? Right. We're going to next find your home. We're going to talk a little bit about the criteria, which we've already done. We're going to narrow down the neighborhood you might want to live in. Right. You can on the app, notify me if you find something you're curious about and you want to see, if you have some questions. Then we're going to make an offer, review the terms. Right. I'm going to walk you through all of those processes. Do you have any questions? Right. Here's a little thing about Keller Mortgage. We can skip that. Here's a little bit about what you do. Right. So clearly I think most of you have not been in the business for 15 years and sold 268 homes. This is where you may put in your a review or two of somebody that has analyzed your work in the past, right? Or a past client referral or a recommendation. This is basically your professional resume, right? You can put it in there. You can make it a half page. You can do whatever you want. But we have lots of things just as a company in general that I believe will help you stand out. We also have the Chartmaster stats. I have to go back and look to see if Lee has posted this lately, but we have, she'll probably do this next week after the month closes. Usually that's what she does. But it says the Chartmaster stats for Metro Atlanta and then the stats for Roswell KW. So if you're in Roswell, for example, the last time I looked at it, it was like we sell homes for like about 2.6% higher than an average real estate agent in Metro Atlanta, and we sell them in half the time. Now that stat changes every single month, but if you've not sold a lot of houses, that would be a good slide to put in there, right? A differentiator between what you do or what your market center does versus the market at large. Okay, does anyone have any questions on what we just looked at? Okay, in the link that Lucy sent out, there's a video for Elementals 5.2, which is the buyer appointment, right? So if you click on here, it's a 54-minute video about the buyer presentation. And every single, if you go back, it goes through that presentation we just did. We just combed through. So if you look here.
Excuse me, Bill.
Yeah.
I'm not sure I understand what email you're talking about that Lucy has sent. I'm just not sure. Is that something she sent before I joined, do you think? Or is it to everybody in the office? I'm not sure.
It should have been to everyone in the office. I will send it out to everyone. Let me just make a note of that. I will send that by email before the end of the day. Okay.
Thank you. And also, before you...
yeah, go ahead.
Sorry. Also, would you, whatever is in the Google Docs, would you suggest we print everything there so that...
No.
Or...
I mean, you can if you want.
Okay.
It's a lot of printing. I would just comb through it.
It is a lot.
Look,
so I'm wondering what to print.
One by one. It's just a
Okay.
resources file, basically. So if you want to look at the models, you want to look at the scripts, you want to, help with some of the planning. It's just a bunch of material that's there for you. So the email is basically this link right here. Okay, it takes you to the Ignite 2.0 lab section, and the way that they're doing the new Ignite is 9 what they call sparks. Right? Orientation, understanding the lead gen model, understanding scripts, setting up your database and feeding it, set goals that matter, deliver your value proposition, find and win with buyers, and working with sellers, and a day in the life of a real estate agent. Then they have another section called Elementals. So Elementals are prospecting, marketing, open house, seller appointments, buyer appointments, making and receiving offers, negotiating the deal, and financial basics. Even if you've been through Ignite before, I would spend some time combing through all of this. Okay.
So we don't have to purchase any material. This is it, right?
It does say purchase, but you don't need to do that. All the content is in the file that's available for you on Google Drive. And these are the videos.
Okay, great. And then, okay, thanks. And then the buyer presentation that we're talking about, did you say we can go to command and design and
yes,
customize it?
Exactly. It's under designs.
Okay, I've got to figure that out. Okay, I will.
So for example, find and win with buyers, you can click on this link here and watch a video on the content. Okay. By the way, there's a link while I got you here. I invited a lot of you. I might have missed somebody though. So here's the thing. Finding and winning with buyers, 50 minutes of content.
I would recommend would be Great Schools.
Okay. There's also something up here that says it's time to pivot, join the movement. I think that's going to be a link to the Facebook group. Let's see. There's a Facebook group that I invited a lot of you to, and it's called...
oh, I haven't been on it. Yeah.
It's called Pivot: Shift Ahead. Okay. There's going to be a lot of interactive stuff on there. I think Jay Papazan's doing a call a little bit later today on that, live on that site. Okay. Like I said, if you treat it like a hobby, it will pay you like a hobby. There is so much information out there right now, guys. Just take it all in. Okay. So there's live streams on this. You can see 12 o'clock. Most of these times are central because it's in Austin, but here's the schedule for today. Morning motivation at 1 o'clock our time was a shift book tactic 1 discussion. 4 o'clock our time is going to be a skills for shift, bulletproof the transaction. And at 5 o'clock our time is a thing with Gene Rivers actually on mindset. I mean, this is like going to
So this is
every day, you guys. On demand video.
This is Rossville PC Facebook account. I'm sorry, is that what you're saying?
Right now, the screen that I'm sharing is KW Connect.
Oh, okay.
Right. So here's a bunch of scripts. I put these scripts in the file yesterday, right? Scripts on just not now. I'm holding off on buying a home. I'm concerned about the market. I want to take some time off. Book clubs. Here's a bunch of videos. When times are lean, cut the fat. Pay yourself first. Build a fortress. Create smart habits and hold your money accountable. Get smart with your money. Here's some videos on mindset. Okay. It's grit. It's grind. Adjust in the face of adversity. Got grit. Tap into your unlimited potential. Lead generation is the long game. Here's one that Leslie and Andy did the other day. Special sessions. Videos coming soon, it looks like. So play around with that. Tomorrow, I mean, look here. Tomorrow, here's your schedule. Double down on leads at 1 o'clock. Renegotiating leases at 4 o'clock. Another class on mindset at 5 o'clock. Plug in, guys. All right, let's get back to the buyer brokerage agreement for a second. Okay, buyer brokerage agreement. Once you are done with the needs analysis, and I just want to take a quick moment, and we'll go back to the buyer intake sheet for a second to make sure a lot of those questions were answered. Intake sheets are on in the PC. Oh my gosh, who knows a chiropractor that wants to come and hang out with me? All right, here's the buyer intake sheet. Just gonna real quickly go through this. I would recommend, if you haven't heard me say this, print one of these out and have it next to you by the phone. And you should memorize these questions. You should say these questions so many times you're like waking up in the middle of the night asking these questions. Okay. How soon would you like to be in your home? How long have you been seriously looking? Have you seen any homes that you really like? What's important to you about buying a house right now? Do you already have a good buyer's agent working with you? Right? Or are you interviewing any other agents? Yes, I'm looking for the one that'll give me a kickback. Okay, have a nice life. Moving on. Right? You need to figure out what it is they want. What would have to happen for us to get into business together right now? I need somebody that's going to text me every Tuesday at 4:15 and tell me what's new. Done. Right? If you don't ask, you won't know. Close them. Right? Do you already have how much money do you have set aside for a down payment? I don't have any money set aside for a down payment. Well, are you a veteran? No. Well, I don't know how you're going to buy a home then. Right? What exactly, where is your down payment going to be coming from? Right? Is it going to be coming from your family, or as a gift, or are you borrowing it somehow? Or help me understand that a little bit more. Right? Do you have a house to sell before you close on your home? Right? Are you pre-approved? Are you currently in a lease? When does your lease expire? Are there any other decision makers? Tell me a little bit about your home. Right? So you want to, it's many of the same questions. We want to make sure that those questions are so internalized that, there's no chance that they get forgotten about. Does that make sense? All right, let's talk about the buyer brokerage agreement for a second. The buyer brokerage agreement is the document that changes a prospect from a customer to a client. Okay. So when I do not have a buyer brokerage agreement with somebody, they are a customer, and Georgia state license law says that I should only be doing ministerial tasks for them. Ministerial tasks, in short, are basically things they could do by themselves. It's essentially using your hands and your feet, right? How many bedrooms does this have? What's the tax record say about the taxes? What school district is it in? Does it have a fenced yard? How long has it been on the market? Like these kind of questions. When you want them to use their brain, or when they want you to use their brain, you really should have a client relationship, right? Where you are representing them. Make sense? So that's where the buyer brokerage agreement comes in. So we did a morning session the other day on buyer brokerage agreement. We went into a lot of detail about this. So I won't go into a ton today, but it adds legitimacy to the process. Anywhere you go, any professional you go in court, and you're trying to determine if you're going to be in a relationship with them, there's paperwork, right? You go to the fitness person, they got paperwork. You go to the dentist, they got paperwork. You go to the chiropractor, they got paperwork. Everyone's got paperwork. So you want to make sure that this is our paperwork, right? If you want to enter into a contract to work together, here's the documentation that we need to sign to define our relationship. Okay, this is what takes you from a customer to a client. When you're a client, then I represent your full needs, and basically you agree to go through me for any property that you might want to see, right? And remember, I can help you with any property that you find or that you have a question about, okay? And it's basically a document of allegiance or loyalty. It can be terminated at any time by either party without penalty, right? So some would say it's largely symbolic, and quite frankly it is, but it does have its place in license law, okay? So when you explain it like that, and you spend an afternoon with them, and you maybe show them a house or two, and you go through the presentation that we just went through and say, so here's what happens next, is here's the document that changes you from a customer to a client, okay? And you can mimic back what I just said a little bit. You say, listen, here's a copy of it. You can take it home, you can review it. If you have any questions, let me know. Sometimes they sign it right there, right? But otherwise you say, let me know if you have any questions. You know, I expect to earn the opportunity to get into business with you. So, you know, if you don't want to sign it now, or you don't sign it, you know, after you review it, I'll bring it up to you the next time. No big deal, right? And I always kind of make it a little bit more casual. And if they don't sign it, then I'll say, hey, just, you know, it's something that we should ultimately sign once we agree to work together. Make sense? Okay, what questions have we not covered on the buyer consultation?
So when you give them the buyer consultation, I mean the BBA, do you just do you quickly go through the optional, I mean the areas that you fill in, or do you just completely just hand it over to them and say that, you know, take a look, or do you actually go over the few things that you fill in, or you will be filling in for them?
So I would fill it in for them. The only thing I would leave blank is any contact information on their side you're missing.
So you would already, when you meet them, you would have filled out everything? Is that what you're saying?
Yep.
Oh, okay. Okay.
Exactly. Because I don't want them putting in like something I don't agree to. This is my contract. Right?
Yeah, that makes sense. Mm-hmm. Sure.
Yeah, so I'd have a copy of that in the car, and I mean, I might, even if I need to, scribble it in right then and there. Or once I know I'm going to have an appointment, I mean, that's preparation, right? You want to prepare like you're getting the business. Remember when a few days ago, Heather said, I recommended that she bring the contract with her.
Mm-hmm.
What happened when she brought the contract with her? Person signed it.
Right.
Right. So prepare like they're going to sign it.
Oh, that's a good one. Yeah.
Because if you pull out a contract and it's not filled out with their information, it's almost psychological, because then you're like, okay, well, Oh, you are kind of ready? Okay, what's your address? Right? Or how do you spell your last name? Right? Um, but if you go in there and you spend an extra couple of minutes having filled it out on the computer before you printed it, right? Then it's like you expected to get the business. Now we just have to have the formality of you autographing it,
Yeah, that makes sense.
right? But if they're ready to sign it, I know we do electronic signatures, and I know we got to get it into Dotloop and all that. Get them to sign it, and then you'll upload it later. Okay, if they're in the mood to sign things, give them things to sign. Cool.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. What
So
else?
Bill, I have a follow-up to the electronic part. So if you were at your computer, or you could also just send them the link at that point too, right? To just go ahead and sign it electronically.
Sure.
Okay.
Sure. Okay. What other questions do we have? I did do a little bit of rearranging, just as a tiny bit of housekeeping here. In the just PC file, I'm just trying to keep it organized. So it's not too crazy, but I did split up some scripts. So please take a look at that. One other thing that I like to talk to them about is the fact that there's really, it's incredibly rare that they're going to find a perfect house. Okay. That's why we talk about the most important things, or that's why we talk about the non-negotiables, right? Because if I can find them everything they want, without, like, I can find all their I need to haves, but not all their want to haves, that may be the best option for them right now. Right? In particular, I mean, look, if you've got a budget, I mean, I guess as people's budgets go up, their needs and desires go up as well, right? You know, you might come across people that won't take a 6-bedroom home, they need a 7-bedroom home, right? Or they won't take a half-finished basement, they need a full finished basement because they've got the income and the assets and whatnot to support that. But you got to know the market well enough where somebody says, you know, oh, I want a 5-bedroom home with a finished basement in Alpharetta. It can't be more than 15 years old, and it needs a flat fenced yard, and I've got $300,000 to spend. And you say, okay, well, I'm in the marketplace all the time, and I haven't seen that in a long time. I'll certainly take a look, but if there is to be one variable that's going to change there, what would it be? Right?
Price.
Yeah, right. It's probably going to have to be price, or it's going to have to be area. Okay, well, if you want something brand new with a full finished basement, you're going to be living in Loganville, right? It's not going to be Alpharetta. So what's more important? Are you able to spend more money, or do you need to live somewhere different? Or are you willing to move into a home that doesn't have a basement, right? So I used to do this exercise where, for example, sometimes I'd have to sit down with them, and now you could do it virtually, right? Okay, guys, Anu, here's the FMLS. This includes every property that is available, okay? You want to live in Alpharetta, awesome, there's 900 choices, okay? You want to have a home with at least 4 bedrooms, okay? Now we're down to 600 choices. Okay, you need a home with a that's in a swim and tennis community. Now we're down to 250 choices. Okay, now you need a home with 3 bathrooms. Okay, now we're down to 75 choices. Okay, and I can only spend $450. Now we're down to 2 choices. Do you like either of these? No. Okay, what's changing? Right? Let's do it live right here. What are we going to adjust so that there's more options to pick from? Because if what you're establishing just does not exist, I can't make it exist. Right? So help me understand, what is the order of the priority here? Would you rather have more space, or would you rather be in this particular area? Right? So for example, let's say somebody is buying a Like over where I live in the Toco Hills area over near Emory, right? So you can get like a 60-year-old, you know, kind of beat up ranch. And if it's on a decent lot, it's going to be 400 or 425. And debatably, it's a teardown, right? So if you want something like immaculate, like it, you know, is in a great school district in East Cobb or Alpharetta or something, you're not going to get it down here, right? And if you want a home that looks like it belongs in those neighborhoods, it's going to be $1 million plus down here. And you may have to build it yourself after having bought a piece of land for $450, right? So you got to know the market well enough to be able to educate these people. Because if you respond to that request by saying, oh, great, I'll hop in the computer right now and send you all the matches. And then you get into the computer and there's no matches. See what I'm saying? This is not about you doing a lot of talking. This is about you doing a lot of asking questions. Pam, I see you just popped on. I know you and I have been working together for a long time. You've worked with a lot of people that have transitioned from renters to buyers and buyers to sellers and sellers to buyers. What I'm gonna, if you don't mind, can I give you the floor for a minute or two and you share any advice that you have, any tips and strategies that you have? It's completely unplanned. Well, Pam. Now you don't want to talk, huh?
She says she's having trouble connecting.
Okay. All right, I'm going to stop the share for a second. You are having trouble connecting.
Connecting her microphone.
Yeah, I see that. All right, maybe she'll get a chance to hook up. Does anyone else have any questions or thoughts? We've got a few minutes left.
Okay, I think I'm connected now.
Oh, yes, I can hear you.
Okay, yeah, I had changed the setting on my laptop, but I had to refresh to get it to work. Okay, so sorry, ask me the question again because I was busy trying to connect.
You have been working with, you've been in the business, what, eight or so years now?
Yes.
Maybe a little over 8 years. And I plucked Pam out of the Ignite room at the very beginning. And I'm incredibly grateful. I just take an opportunity to thank you for everything you've ever done for me, for helping work with a number of my clients over the years. What type of advice do you have for people with respect to the buyer presentation or the process at all?
Wow. You know, I think you went through it very well. I do tend to have them sign the BBA through dotloop because I tell them it's a great opportunity for them to learn the software before we're in a contract situation with a deadline.
I love that. Yeah. Love that. Hey, we're going to practice getting ready to sign stuff. Here's the first thing, right? It looked like you weren't on the call the whole time, but do you have any?
I was pretty much. I was on it pretty much the whole time.
Oh, good. Okay, good.
So Pam, do you take your laptop when you meet them, and then that's when you, through your laptop, they do that? Go through.
I do have my laptop with me. I do have my laptop with me. I don't always have them sign it right immediately there. Because I go over, I go over the buyer brokerage agreement. Generally, I don't walk them through every itemized list in the buyer brokerage agreement. And I ask them if they're comfortable, signing it now, or if they, if they feel they need to read through the whole document, but I can send it to them electronically. They can read through the whole document, ask me any questions they have, and sign it electronically. So I don't usually get the BBA signed when I first meet with them. No.
I like giving them a copy of it, right? I like giving them a copy of it, and you could say, hey, you can read through this, and you can either sign it on paper and scan it back to me, or you could sign it online. I'll be happy to send it to you and prompt you to sign it online. So which option did I not give them?
Not signing.
That's right. So would you rather agree to work with me in paper or to work with me online? Not working with me is not an option. Right? So as long as I want to do business with that person. Okay.
Yes.
I'm
Absolutely.
going to give you one other piece of advice real fast is sometimes, especially at the beginning of our career, we can almost get like, how do I want to say this? Sometimes you get caught up. It's almost like you fall in love with your buyers. Okay. And you get really emotional about it. And the thing is buyer, like, it doesn't always work out perfectly, right? And buyers have a lot of stuff that goes on in their lives, right? And they may get delayed, or they may change their mind, or they may get a job transfer or whatever. And it's incredibly emotionally draining when you get really emotional about each buyer. And it really goes for sellers too. And so the way I reacted to that is I said, I'm going to go flirt with so many people that I can barely keep them straight. And then when one of them says, I'm ready to work together, I almost have to like look them up to make sure I remember what I talked to them about. And I tried to keep it fairly unemotional because I knew that, and I built my business when the market sucked. And I knew that there was going to be a lot of things that popped up and people that I thought I was going to get paid with from working together in April, and I didn't get paid until 4 years later, right? And the only way I was going to guarantee that I got paid enough to stay alive was to flirt with a lot of people. Does that make sense? And I was told by my wife many years ago not to use that word. What I mean is court, or what's the, Pam, what am I trying to say?
I'm trying to think of, well, I think it's comparable to, you know, we have to make a lot of phone calls to only get in touch with a few people.
Yeah.
It's a similar concept. I've heard you say flirt for years, so I'm okay with that.
Right.
So where my question is, where would I get these buyers? Is it from my sphere of influence? Is that the lead gen? Is that?
Yeah, I mean, it could be a lot of different things, but they're either going to come from your network, or you're going to go find them by your lead generation efforts or your marketing efforts, or through a referral, right? So I know there are some exceptions to this, but pretty much everybody needs a place to live. And many of the places to live will pay you to help that person move there, right? So if you want to find them a rental, you can get paid for that. You want to find them a home to buy, you can get paid for that. So remember when I talked about the, you remember that little thing I talked about that kind of went like this, and at the very top of the little hump, that was the time that they bought a home, and the next day was the very bottom of that hump. Remember that? And all of the communication between the times they bought were kind of marked out on that line, right? If sometimes we're much more willing to pay, or pretty much all the times actually, where we consider somebody that is closer to the top as more valuable because they're going to transact business sooner. But there's actually nothing wrong with somebody that just bought a home that had a crappy experience getting into a relationship with them, because they will buy and sell in the future. And they know people that buy and sell all the time, right? And so every friend of yours, every old coworker of yours, everyone that's ever done business with you in any other arena, these are all people that need to have a realtor in their world, right? 75%, let me say this again, 75% of America's wealth is tied up in real estate. Okay, if that doesn't open your eyes to the fact that we literally have the best job out there, you're letting something slip by. Okay, so if you can be their advisor, right? Gary Keller says their economist of choice. If you can be their economist of choice, particularly in this type of environment where people don't know what's going on, if you can be the calming force in those conversations as you're going back and checking in with all your friends and family, and if appropriate, reminding them what you did, right? And throwing out a stat, right? Did anyone look to see how many listings came on the market today? I'll do a quick little search for you guys. Okay, in the last, so you feel like the world shut down, right? No one's leaving their home or anything like that. Would it surprise you to know that 339 people put their home on the market in Metro Atlanta yesterday? And
Tell us again how you, I know you told us, could you tell us again how you go to that? Is that stats on?
No, that is FMLS.
Yeah,
So-
Bill, I saw that yesterday. It was incredible. I was like, what?
Where on FMLS?
I'm sharing the screen right now. Pam, you may need to help me with this, but this is like on the main screen. If you look at this here, you can customize the main
Oh
screen.
yeah. New listings 118. Okay. Market Watch.
Yeah, Market Watch. So 339 new listings. 330 homes went under contract. Okay, look at this, guys. 38 sellers in the middle of this global pandemic raised their prices.
I think if you look at those, you'll find they're mostly builders.
Still. You're right.
I didn't realize all those numbers are daily. I thought those were like monthly, or those are daily numbers.
Well, they have different things. So if you look,
You can adjust it.
Yeah, you can
in
set
this
it.
lower corner. So that's the 24 hours, what you're looking at now.
Oh, got it. Okay.
And then they have the 3-day and the 7-day.
Got it. Okay.
But if just to your point, Pam, yeah, they probably are builders. We'll go in here and look. But the fact of the matter is a builder actually said, hey, there's coronavirus here, and perhaps we should raise our prices. Like, yeah, so what if they're brand new? They're still pushing the envelope. See what I'm saying?
So is it residential on the left, and is that what you're residential, correct?
Yeah, these are all residential. Oh, I see what you're saying. Yeah, so the other options are like leases and commercial and land and that kind of thing. Yeah.
How are you getting 339? I'm getting only 155 new listings.
Oh, because I have 24-hour rather than today. See right here?
Okay, 338. Okay, gotcha. Okay. Okay.
So guys, this is also a good time. I've said this a bunch of times. This is a great time to go back and learn your technology, right? Like, I'll be the first to tell you, I probably know about 10% of what FMLS can do. Pam is like my FMLS guru. She's like my everything guru, to be honest. I'm like, Pam, how do I sign in? She's like, this is how you sign in, right? But if you don't know how to do this stuff, and like, I don't really know what Cloud MLX is, but perhaps I should know. Maybe it'll help me find some buyers and sellers or convert them, right? Don't waste time. Be learning, right? Don't forget, there's a difference between growing your business and running your business. If you don't grow it, you don't have anything to run, okay? So you need to get out there and lead generate for buyers and for sellers. You need to go on listing appointments and sign listing contracts. You need to go on buyer appointments and sign buyer contracts. That is priority number one. And then you earn the right to have a business worth managing.
I want to say something to Anu. If your Market Watch numbers are not the same as Bill's, look down and see if to the right of your customized is there an option to reset? And if so, you may need to click on that.
Oh, under
Well, I
residential,
had,
it says refresh, but she was using today, and I was at 24 hours.
right. By
Okay,
default,
okay,
yeah,
sorry.
I got that, Pam. Thanks. But by
Sorry.
default, it came up as today, and I just had to change it to 24. But thanks. Yep.
Yeah.
Sorry about that.
And also you can, I believe you can edit this based on certain areas, right?
Yes, you can. You can. And I had mine edited, and that was how I knew there was that reset option over to the right, because I was able to reset it just to show today. But I had previously had mine just showing areas I normally work in.
So
Right.
where is
So,
that, Pam? Where is that?
Yeah,
Where the
do you know how
area?
to do that?
I don't.
Let me see. Let me play with it a second and see what I did. Well, there's customize. See, look at customize.
Yes.
And then I scrolled down
Oh,
and
yeah.
So I'm just going to put area 21.
yeah,
for
you can put
example.
whatever areas you want to put in there.
Right.
And
So
then
like
go back
you, let's
to
say you want to
home.
work in the bucket area,
Yep.
for example.
Yeah,
So
yeah, I
you
got
can-
that. I did area 21, and then I got new listing 6. Yep. So, and then if I want to go back to original, I would just say reset. Correct. If I
Correct.
didn't want. Okay, got it. That's great, Pam.
There you go.
Thanks.
So I'm looking
You're
in
welcome.
in the last 24 hours in area 21. You're right. There's 6 listings. So
Yep.
that this could and should be part of your routine.
Yeah, that's a
Right.
good thing to do every morning.
So you say, hey, oh my gosh, here's a new listing. It's 2.475 million. Pace's neighborhood. I need to be familiar with this if I'm going to claim like I know what I'm doing down there. Right?
Mhm.
Oh
Mhm.
my gosh, you can have a 2-2 Chastain Park condos for 200 grand? Really? I should know what that looks like. Am I familiar with this neighborhood? Maybe not. Let's go take a look. Right? And so any areas that you desire to be an expert in, make it a point each day, make it part of your daily rhythm to go investigate what's new, right? Homes that are going on, that are having price reductions, study them. Homes that are going pending. What do we know about the pending homes? We know that they're winning, right? Of all that, let's say there's 100 homes on the market and 17 go pending. What do we know about those 17? The buyers selected those 17 from the 100. They must be the best values, right? So what does it take? What does a home have to be look like or be priced at for them to win, right? For them to get a contract, right? Dean Drive. I mean, I'll give you an example. I put a renter in Dean Drive a couple of years ago, right? Oh my gosh, this home is 910. If this home was in Tucker, it'd sell for 280. Do you see what I'm saying? Okay. While I got a couple of you on, I'm just going to say one more thing. Aubrey said this on the, actually, I can't remember which Aubrey call it was on this morning, but if somebody came to you, let me pick on you for a second, Kim. If somebody said to you, let's say you were young and you were dating and you were trying
I
to
am
find,
young.
oh, man.
I was about to ask if he was saying I was old.
I'm not going to talk about that.
Gotta watch out, Bill.
Oh my gosh. Charleston, help me out here, man. All right.
I ain't touching that with a 5-foot pole.
Yeah. All right. Sorry. Let's start over. Sorry. Let's start over. You were younger and you were dating, and somebody came to you and said, Kim, I want to tell you a little bit about what life is going to be if you marry me. Okay. We're going to have an average home. We're going to have an average car. We're going to have an average family. We're going to go on average vacations. We're going to have average salaries, right? We're going to go out to average restaurants. Life is just going to be average. Let's get married,
No way.
right? What are you going to say?
He's still in New Jersey, and I
Yeah.
married somebody else.
Exactly. So,
That's a good one.
right? So why do we settle for average? Right? We have an opportunity to do anything we want. Right? We can have any type of business we want. We can have any type of life we want. We can spend our time however we desire. Right? That's why I say, like, when I ask you what your goals are and you say, oh, I want to make, you know, let's say I want to sell 5 homes or 10 homes or 25 homes or 35 homes or 105 homes or 605 homes. There are people that are doing that. All you have to do is watch what they did and see where they screwed up and see where they succeeded, right? We don't have to be average. We don't have to settle for average. So that's one of the things I love about Keller Williams is they teach us how to think, right? Leadership, I've been taught, leadership is teaching you how to think so you can get what you want when you want it, right? So you can have whatever you want. You can spend your days however you want with whoever you want. And we have the ability to parlay our real estate license and our systems and tech and tools of KW into having whatever life we want to have, right? And we find ourselves in this exact situation right now. And this is our time to double down on your activities, double down on your education, and double down on your accountability, and go out there and secure more business than your peers. Not these peers, but the other peers. Make sense? Anyone feel inspired?
Sure.
Yes, it does. And I just want to say, since we last looked at the Market Watch, 2 more homes have gone on the market.
Isn't that interesting?
Wow.
Isn't that interesting? All right, we're a bit past our time. Please remember that I had to move one class for tomorrow, which was the high accountability class. Is now going to be at 12 o'clock rather than 3 o'clock. So we have our morning huddle, then we have the 11 o'clock call. We have a high accountability class at 12. We have the big group session at 2, and that's it for tomorrow.
What are the topics, Bill, for
high accountability?
all the different sessions you mentioned? What would be the topics?
So high accountability, what I have in mind there is it's people that, I don't want to say that the others are low accountability or anything, but these are people that want just, they want a little bit more of like a kind of a, I don't know if drill sergeant's the right word, but they want to be held accountable to their goals, right? So I want to make, like if Kim says, I want to add 20 people to the database, and as of, this week, and so far this week, she's at 3, I say, Kim, is there anything personal going on in your life that's preventing you from hitting your goal? No. Okay. Is this still your goal? Is this something that's still important to you? Yes. What can I do right now to get you into the right activities and behaviors to get you to where you want to be? It's a little bit more straight talk. Okay. And then the big session is generally just the time where all of us get together and we kind of talk a little bit about successes and struggles and strategies and these kind of things. And depending on who's in the room, we kind of have a little catch-all for everyone. So if somebody brings up, I think there was somebody that brought up the topic of lease purchase last time. So we spent a few minutes talking about that. Somebody brought up the topic of buyer presentations. So we put it on the calendar for this week. So it's kind of like just tell me what's going on. Are we doing well? Are we not doing well? Is there some content you want to learn about that you're not getting as of this moment, right? So those are really the topics for tomorrow. And then we do have a to be determined class from 2 to 3 on Thursday. I haven't heard anyone throw any ideas out there. So if you don't throw any ideas out there, I'll think of something. Maybe we can do it on Profit Share or something. And then the seller.
And tomorrow I'm sorry, the 11 o'clock class, what was that about? What is that about?
So the 11 o'clock class is a Market Center class. We're really Georgia Legacy Group. So it's kind of a catch-all for, today we spent some time talking a little bit about okay, how are we doing virtual? That, you know, every part of the sales process, how could we convert that to being virtual? We also had some updates from Kathy on the lending side. We had some updates from Curran on the closing side. We had some agents that shared some cool ideas that they're doing. We had some agents that shared some of their concerns. I mean, it was just kind of a catch-all for everyone. It's like just a daily huddle so that we are all staying on task.
And is that recorded, Bill? The 11 o'clock
I think
class?
so. I'll check in with
Where
all
would I?
that.
Okay.
Okay. All right,
Okay,
guys.
all right.
Call me
Thanks.
if
He
there's
did
anything.
mention today.
What, Pam?
He did mention during during that call this morning that it was recorded,
Recorded.
the 11 o'clock call.
Yeah,
But
I
where
just
would we
don't know
find
where,
that?
where they're putting it.
I don't know. And here's the thing, Zoom is taking a much longer time to upload, to upload recordings to wherever due to their increase in volume. So
Yeah.
it might be tomorrow or something before it's actually uploaded.
Cool.
Bill,
All
you
right,
know, I
thank you,
have a good
everybody.
idea for the class, that empty class. Maybe you could ask Kathy Vitale to come and talk us through the process of like when you meet somebody and you get the get
Oh, I
your
like that. I like that.
all right.
Let's see if she can do that.
Okay.
All right. Thanks, guys.
And
Have a great day.
if Kathy can't do it, then maybe Bill, you could do it, because I know they are swamped right now with all the refis
Yeah.
and, and trying to do everything, and trying to be on all these Zoom calls with the groups.
I know. I've been finishing the day and be like, did I do anything today? It's like Zoom call after Zoom call after Zoom call after Zoom call. Oh.
All
All right,
right.
Stephanie, me and you were talking in a second, right?
Yes,
Okay, I'll call you in a
I'm
second.
ready. Okay. All right.
Bye.
Thank you. Bye, guys.
Actually,
Bye-bye.
let's, stick around. Stick around.
Me?
Yeah.